Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And a big thank you to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code SINISTER and get 10% off all of your purchases. The link to both of those is in our description. We are still doing our push to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are in a great position, but we got to keep pushing. So if you've been here before, definitely hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, we're going to talk about the new Barbarian subclass that has gone under the radar because of the UA6, the Path of the Giant. The Path of the Giant came out from Big B Presents The Glory of Giants, and giants as a whole are greatly misunderrepresented in this game. They are nasty. They are big threats. They went to war with dragons over the dominion of the planet. They are not to be messed with. They are a very serious threat. They are very powerful. They are very smart. They have a wealth of abilities supporting them. They're very cool. I don't feel they ever get the attention that they deserve. They should really be a big threat, and I can't express that enough. They're really a misused villain in D&D, and I think there should be a real big push to get them into your games because they can be very cool, and there's a lot of lore behind them. So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. They're awesome, and they've been there since D&D originally came out. That being said, this went under the radar for a long period of time because it just came out at a bad time, because 1D&D released the 6th playtest, and that kind of got everybody's coverage going. But there's a couple of things to this that's actually pretty worthwhile, and you might see a bunch of these coming forward in your next games coming up. At 3rd level, you gain an ability called Giant Power. When you choose this path, you learn to speak, read, and write Giant, or one other language of your choice if you already know Giant. Additionally, you learn one cantrip of your choice, either Druidcraft or Thaumaturgy, and Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for the spell. As far as that's concerned, Thaumaturgy is pretty cool because you can use it to kind of boast out your voice and try and be more intimidating, darken the room, make yourself seem grander. It's a cool thing to have, and it works really well with the Barbarian. It's a great feature. Druidcraft, it really depends on what you're trying to do. In the most simplest of terms, Druidcraft is like the druid's version of like prestidigitation. Like, you do small little magical things involving plants. It's not really groundbreaking or anything like that. I think Thaumaturgy is your better choice here. And the other ability you gain at 3rd level is called Giant's Havoc. Your rage pulls strength from the primal might of giants, transforming you into a hulking force of destruction. While raging, you gain the following benefits. Crushing Throw. When you make a successful ranged attack with a throw weapon using strength, you can add your rage damage bonus to the attack's damage roll. And Giant Stature. Your reach increases by 5 feet, and if you're smaller than large, you become large, along with anything you are wearing. If there isn't enough room for you to increase your size doesn't change. The big thing here is that reach increases, which is great for you. It gives you a lot of play as far as what you can do range-wise. If you're using something with a reach weapon, you can now go 15 feet, which is a pretty impressive area for you to deal damage out of. The size thing is very similar to the Runic Knight. If you can grow bigger, great. If you can't, no big deal. But if you are large, you can grapple other bigger monsters that you wouldn't normally as a medium-sized creature. Keep that in mind, because as a barbarian, grappling is something you're actually very good at, and you might be inclined to do so. At 6th level, you gain an ability called Elemental Cleaver. Your bond with the elemental might of giants grow, and you learn to infuse weapons with this primordial energy. When you enter your range, you can choose one weapon that you are holding and infuse it with one of the following damage types: acid, cold, fire, thunder, or lightning. While you wield the infused weapon during your rage, the weapon's damage type changes to the chosen type. It deals an extra 1d6 damage of the chosen type when it hits, and it gains the thrown property with a normal range of 20 feet and a long range of 60 feet. If you throw the weapon, it reappears in your hand the instant after it hits or misses a target. The infused weapon benefits are suppressed while a creature other than you wields it. While raging and holding the infused weapon, you can use a bonus action to change the infused weapon current damage type to another one from the damage type options above. Understand how this works. Now, you get to add your rage damage to this thrown attack because of your earlier primal ability that you get as the giant. It is pretty impressive when you consider now that you can be a ranged barbarian and still gain all the bonuses. It is awesome. Crushing Throw really helps you out here, and now you're developing a different kind of attacker because you can benefit from this by simply throwing a greatsword and do that 2d6 additional damage of a different elemental type plus the 1d6, and as soon as that hits, the weapon returns to your hand so you can throw it again and get your 2 attacks out in a simple turn with a 20-foot range damage, an additional 1d6 every time it hits. That is just so strong for a barbarian. You don't realize how something like that really changes the way a barbarian works until you realize the zealot barbarian gets a damage bonus at 3rd level. And how often does the barbarian get picked specifically for that subclass? Because of that extra damage, it is a big bonus, and this is always on when you're raging, so it doesn't matter. And if you're fighting something that's resistant to one of those damage types, you can switch it to another without having any issue. You're fighting constructs, switch to thunder. You're fighting trolls, switch to acid or fire. Like, it gives you so many great opportunities to be flexible in combat, to have your one main thing be able to overcome your biggest issue, which is resistance to the weapon type you're wielding if you're not wielding a magic weapon that specifically cuts through that. At 10th level, you get an ability called Mighty Impel. Your connection to giant strength allows you to hurl both allies and enemies on the battlefield. As a bonus action while raging, you can choose one medium or smaller creature within your reach and move it to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of yourself. An unwilling creature must succeed on a strength saving throw. The DC equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your strength modifier to avoid the effect. If, at the end of this movement, the thrown creature isn't on a surface or liquid that can support it, the creature falls, taking damage as normal and landing prone. Understand that it's a bonus action. You don't have a huge amount of bonus actions as a barbarian, so you will have opportunities where you have that free. You can just throw a creature straight up in the air, and if it lands, it's prone. You can use this as an alternative to going reckless, so you don't have to deal with all these other enemies having advantage to hit you, and still giving yourself and other party members that are in melee the ability to capitalize on this. You can also throw creatures off of bridges, off of mountains, into lava, wherever you are. If there's an elemental effect in play, a status effect, a spell that does damage dependent on you starting your turn in there, just grab one creature and throw it in there and then focus on something else. You can really create these great dual techniques dependent on the rest of your party with this kind of ability. And because it's a bonus action, it's not going to deter you from being able to use your regular attacks and keeping your damage going forward. The more creative you are and the more practice you get with this ability, the better off it will be. Plus, you can just straight up throw one creature into another. You can just drop someone on their head. If they make the save, it doesn't matter. You're a barbarian and you're in melee combat with them. It's a win-win. You gain a lot more from practicing with this and learning the limits of what you can do. At 14th level, you get an ability called Demiurgic Colossalus. The primordial power of your rage intensifies. When you rage, your reach increases by 10 feet. Your size can increase to large or huge, your choice. And you can use your Mighty Impel to move creatures that are large or smaller. In addition, the extra damage dealt by your Elemental Cleaver feature increases to 2d6. This is huge. It's like doing an extra greatsword worth of damage on every attack that you land. On top of that, considering how often you will have advantage, your regular attack will do, say you're just using a regular greatsword, it's 2d6 plus 2d6 for your regular attack, and if you crit, it's 8d6 on one attack. It does help out a lot. At 14th level, you might get magic items that give you additional damage on top of it, or like Flame Tongue or something like that. So when you hit, you drop additional damage. That accumulates and snowballs real fast. This is a great thing because your reach is also 10 feet. So if you're using a reach weapon at this point, you're swinging 20 feet around you. Being large is great. Being able to throw, again, anything that's large or smaller with Mighty Impel gives you a lot of great opportunities to just be disruptive. And again, change the battlefield. Control things around you. You know, something has to be a melee, throw it in the opposite direction. And just walk the other way. Like, you can do a couple of really great things with it and be creative, and now you can do it to larger creatures. I really feel like the Path of the Giant Barbarian really makes the Barbarian like a better version of the Barbarian. I know it sounds strange. It does give you the option just to be a ranged Barbarian jumping around and dealing damage in 20 feet. Keeping yourself a little safe and kind of causing a little bit of confusion around DMs who now have to figure out what to do. Because you can position yourself and still be out of the way a little bit, and now the enemies have to choose which direction to go to. It gives you a range option, which is great. It gives you a range option that's really viable, that works with your rage. On top of that, it gives you a great opportunity to use your bonus action to be disruptive, to do a lot of different things with just rearranging the battlefield, which is a very big tactical advantage, and it doesn't impede your damage. It also ups your damage every attack, which is huge for a barbarian because that's all you really are expected to do, and it makes that a little bit more accessible. It gives you access to every single damage type. It gives you a great way to be creative with those by switching them around and learning your enemy by using attacks based on resistance. If you're playing in a game with no magic items, this really ups that and really puts you in one of the better positions as far as what you can do in combat, how effective you are. Being able just to swap damage types all the time is very useful. You will constantly be in such circumstances where maybe you got a flame tongue and now you're in an area with all fire resist people. Like, it happens a lot, surprisingly. But you're not meant to stay there forever, but sometimes it helps mitigate your damage output to kind of make the challenging a little bit more acceptable and more viable, so your fights are more meaningful. But this gives you an option to switch out. Now, you don't have to worry about dealing that extra fire damage because it's not going to be detrimental to you. You could switch it to cold damage. You could switch it to lightning or acid or thunder, and give yourself a lot of great options. It's great to have that versatility with something like the Barbarian. All that said and done, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you've made it this far, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. It's amazing what you do for the channel. And a big thank you to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code Sinister, get 10% off all of your purchases. The link to both of those sites is in our description. Let us know what you thought of the Path of the Giant Barbarian. I'm actually really pumped up for this. Barbarians aren't normally my thing, but this is actually, I think it's a very cool, unique way to stay being the barbarian and still evolve it in a way that feels good and makes you feel great for choosing this. And it always consistently makes you a bigger bad the longer you play it, which is a great thing, and it feels just fun. Again, we're doing a big push to 2,000 subscribers, and we cannot do it without you. So if you've made it this far into the video, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. And thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.